Hey everybody, tomorrow morning is going to be a very exciting day, but before it gets really hectic, I wanted to take a minute to show you guys kind of what's in the nuts and bolts of a light deck pour, especially one with hydronic heat. This one's taken us a little while to get ready because, like I said, it's a side project. It's Sunday evening, as it always is when I come to you guys from my own personal project. But we've been working on this on the side. Like I said, we've gone on a couple trips, went on vacation, then I had to go fix Dolphin Island, and so I've been all over the place and very busy with work, still blowing and going on pools and getting the eco-finish stuff up and rolling. So I want to kind of just come up here close and show you guys kind of the nuts and bolts of how the three-dimensional aspects of this pour are. So I'll take the camera from my lovely camera lady Christina. And so okay, basically what light deck is in general is a horizontal ICF form, like a floor form. And what it does is it's going to create these beam pockets, and they are 6 inches wide, 8 inches deep. Well, they're 8 inches in this case. As you can see, there's a cap. You see there's a layer on top of there, and depending on your span, you can cap anywhere from 4 inches up to probably 14 inches. It gets up to 24 inches high total from the bottom of the light deck form to the top of the concrete. You can span 40 feet when you do that. So I'm only spanning 22, so the engineer said I only needed a 4-inch cap, and we're golden. So we're going to have a 14-inch thick floor. We have this little pocket right here, which is going to be just a kind of a trapdoor, little compact spiral staircase going through our master closet floor down into the bottom there. We're going to have a cool clear story, sits over the bed, and then just a regular little 2030 for at the end of the kind of galley bathroom. We're going to kind of a hotel style, really cool master bath happening. But anyway, this pour, like I said, it ties into the house. We finally had to cut into the roof, which I'm glad to be getting it poured before it rains at all. We can kind of patch that up. And the hydronic heat, one thing that's really important, you just tie it to that wire. The wire is not doing any whole lot of reinforcement. It's actually just to keep my pipes straight. But real quick about the rebar, everybody's always asking, so I'll talk about that. The bottom of every beam comes with these cool little chairs, holds 2 number 6 in this case. The one I'm getting ready to do for Dr. Shaw takes number 7 rebar. I mean, the engineers at Light Deck are really good to give you the specs of what you need to do. And then I have number 4 grade 60 rebar on 2-foot centers over the top of my hydronic. But my hydronic heat here is on 12-inch centers, 2 300-foot zones to do my bathroom, or to do my bedroom and my bathroom. When I do my driveway and stuff in the front, I'm going to do an ice melt system, all kind of on the same, just zoned out. But the one thing you really want to do is make a diagram before you pour. I've tried to put in all of my penetrations, tried my best to get them all. But if I'm missing something, you want the option to be able to drill. If you notice, I didn't run the hydronic under that painted line. There is a wall. And I tried not to run the hydronic under the wall. But even if I have to drill out here, if I know where I started off of the walls and I go every 12 inches, I can pretty safely drill a decent size hole if I ever needed to, because these are only like 1/2-inch PEX lines on 12-inch centers, so there's a lot of space between them that you could hit if you had to. Again, you don't want to if you can avoid it, but it's very important. And you can also see we're kind of doing our Monopour thing. We're attached. This is our thermal break around the outside, and we're attached right on top of the Nudura forms from the previous pour. And then I just used a Monopour leg on the inside. We just ripped it away, so we'll pour down the top of the wall. It'll spill out into the light deck, and it'll be all one piece, which is just something. A, it saves a pump, and B, it makes it a little bit stronger. You can see down in here. I'll take you down here in a second and show you kind of the false work that we put in. Probably a little overkill, but this is going to be about 40,000 pounds of wet concrete sitting on a styrofoam and very light gauge steel joist. So you really can't overkill in my opinion. All right, guys. Hectic morning. we start by, when we do a monopour, we're starting on top of the wall and we're filling up. We're pouring a R3500, no calcium, nothing special to the mix, at a 4 slump. We don't want it so runny, we vibrate it, so you don't want it so watery that it's actually adding more weight and too much fluidity. You want it to stay put once we place it. So we're plugging up the wall, and it's actually stacking about halfway up in the wall right now. We have holes in the top of the bottom of the window buck, so we can fill the void under the window. And it's a little sketchy. This light deck, there's going to be 40,000 pounds of wet concrete laying on this styrofoam in a minute. Each one of these beams is going to have about 1,000 pounds of concrete in it. But as you can see, it's just going to make a 3-dimensional slab. 4 inches on top with 8-inch beams for a total of 12 inches every 2 feet of concrete with that big number 6 rebar in the bottom of it. Ultra strong. Not a better structure for residential construction out there. John Martin doing his thing back there as usual. He's the best pump guy in the business. My boy's watching over every detail. So we'll keep, I got a time lapse going so I can show you every detail. I'll come back to you after we get this all laid down. Okay, so me and the boys kind of get everything ready to go and start pouring. And obviously it's a really busy looking floor because of all the hydronics and the wire laying under the hydronic heat. Really, you can't hurt any of that with regular shoes, but we try not to stand on the rebar that's floating just above the hydronic, because you could wear, you know, if the rebar kind of moves around, you could kind of wear on the pecs, and we don't want to do that. So if you notice, I mean, we walk freely around on the light deck. You obviously try not to step into the channels, the beams, but once that wire's on there, it's pretty much a non-issue. But we do try to avoid that, and because you fall through, there's nothing supporting. There's only like 1.5 inches of foam under the beam, so you really don't want to do that. The boys are filling up the windows and the walls, which I'm going to show you a little bit later in the video, kind of a close-up, because that's something that always bugs people as they're working their head through how it's done the first time. One of my guys, he's blurred out, but he's just kind of edging. This was a funky pour because it's not very big. It's only about 450 square feet, but with walls all around the entire thing except for that one corner where we're putting glass, it makes it a little tricky to get it finished. I jumped on the power trowel pretty early, just trying to kind of help out, because half of it's in the sun, half of it's not. So it's one of those small pours that should be easy, but there was a lot of variables that kind of made it a pain, but turned out really good. And like I said, there's nothing to light deck, just really trying to make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's on all the false work, which I'll get into that in detail in a little bit later in the video. You can kind of see how we do that. Okay, so this is just an up-close view of how when we're doing these monopours, you can see the fab form monopour legs that allow us to suspend a piece of ICF up into the air however far, and then as we start to pour the wall, our like 4 slump concrete's just going to ooze out there. We're going to vibrate that real good, and it's just a great way. And kind of just wanted to show a little close up here of my bracing, just so people can kind of see how we do it. This is how we fix up the windows. We cut these plugs, and we actually pump into the void. And we'll have like 2 holes so we can kind of see it coming. You want to vibrate in the top, vibrate down that hole. Okay. Straight down the hole. Yeah. Alright. You can see the slab just kind of creates beams every 2 feet. And that's where the structural spanning ability of light deck really shines. Just looks like a parking deck in your bedroom. Okay, I didn't get a video of the false work done prior to the pour, so at this point we know it held, which is happy times. We got a lot of bleed water. You can see that dripping down in there. I did the best I could to seal it up. I mean, light deck doesn't say you need to do that. I just wanted to minimize the bleed water. But what light deck suggests is 5-foot centers both directions. So posts on 5 foot, and and then the stiff backs on 5 foot. So it's like a tic-tac-toe board a little bit. I didn't really know that. I thought 4 foot seemed like, about the right amount. So what I did, I had one of my boys do it on 4 foot, but he screwed up and put the stiff backs on 5 foot centers, which is actually okay according to Lite Deck, but I was afraid of it. So I put all these extra, webs in there to break my load up and kind of throw the load. And I've got those 2x4s go all the way from the ICF all the way across to the concrete on the other side, both directions. So they're only 8 foot tall stiff backs, but they would still have to not only make those fail, but then these 2x4s that run concrete to concrete would also have to fail. It's pretty foolproof. Still makes you nervous, 'cause like I said, there's 40,000 pounds of wet concrete over our heads. So, it's no joke. Okay, guys, we got it all done. Everything went great. Got one little puddle here, but it is 1/4 inch deep, and we still got to lay tile, so we'll get it. It'll be perfectly flat when we're done. But really, no complaints about the way this floor went. It was very easy. There's, when you're dealing with Lite Deck, if you've ever poured Lite concrete on decks before, once you get it all shored up, it's really stable. And it's styrofoam, so it kind of just has that softer feel. It feels like it's got more movement. So there's a familiarity that you need to get. It feels scary. It raises the pucker factor. We do a lot when we're doing one on the pool I poured that I posted a few weeks ago. We got the pool room, and we're doing a very similar, monolithic floor and beam system, just like the Lite Deck creates with the foam, and we're doing it with our Gates forms. It'll feel a lot sturdier. The concrete will be exactly the same dimensions. It won't be sturdier. It'll be exactly the same without the insulation provided by the Lite Deck, but it feels sturdier. It's also a lot more work to get all that framed up than the Lite Deck. So everything's good. The next step is obviously framing, getting it under roof before the weather gets bad. This is all glass through here, which we have already sitting in here. So these videos will happen maybe once a month. The progress is slow because this is my side project. We got multiple pools. I think about 8 pools going right now, and the big house. So this is very much a Saturday, Sunday thing. But I'm going to bring you a cost analysis of the Lite Deck compared to framing. Obviously, Advantech is still really expensive, even though lumber has been coming down. I think Advantech's still in the mid-60s a sheet. And I-joists are still a little hard to get. It's going to be cheaper than this in all likelihood, but it's not a huge difference. In this, if you're going to do like a hydronic heat like this, which we'll get more into detail about how all that works, and we're going to redo my driveway and stuff, put an ice melt system out there, all zoned, and that's all cool stuff you can do with modern technology that you can't do, or you can do it with the wood, but the heat transfer is not as good as it is through concrete. So you're kind of starting from behind to do that. But the big thing with Lite Deck is I really want to get accurate figures with my concrete plant, because like this was spanning 22 feet and my top to bottom is 14 inches. Well, they keep stacking caps to make longer spans possible, making the beams taller, up all the way up to 24 inches. Well, if you need that, you have to get way more foam to stack, which is more expensive, plus the freight. And that's the big kicker with this stuff. I ordered a 32 by 34 roof that we're doing in the fall here on a garage. We're doing a single slope ICF Lite Deck roof. And it was, the freight was $1,800, because you were basically filling up an entire semi with this foam, because it's voluminous and they send it in full length. So I got 34-foot sections that, I have enough of them to stack 32 foot wide. So it's a big, stretch. And the freight is the big kicker, because it's not like a lot of ICF that's made all over the country, so you're only shipping it a few hundred miles. It comes from one spot, and you basically pay for an entire truck, especially if you're doing a whole house, maybe a couple of trucks. So that's kind of the factor. If I gave you the price, it might not be relative to you. That's why I don't get into rebar and everything else, because it varies so much, place to place. But I will try to give you at least, your base rate, and then, you got to kind of do your own due diligence in an upcoming video. But I kind of wanted to just bring a pour to you, because a lot of people reach out and they go, oh, I love ICF, but I don't really get Lite Deck, and I'm interested, but I've never seen it. And it's really out there, and it's really cool. So just wanted to bring you this video to kind of show you that. I've got a video we're doing next week. We're actually attacking the one thing a lot of people mention, the kind of ICF detractors always talk about termites, and we're going to delve into that. I've been talking to a couple guys in the industry, because I'm in a zone that they consider high risk, not very high, but we're kind of in the moderate zone, and we just never see it. But I'm going to really get into that, and mitigation and real risks versus kind of mythical, urban legend stuff. So I'll get into that next week. But anyway, we'll keep the progress coming on this as we can, and see you next time.